How far away are the Steelers from a Super Bowl? To me, it's a trillion light years times infinity, if that's possible. And when we compare them to the Eagles, Bob, here's the deal. Here's where it begins. Is you have somebody running the franchise who is unafraid. They've now been through 2 quarterbacks and multiple Super Bowls since the last time the Steelers were competitive in a playoff game. Jeffrey Lurie is unafraid. He's constantly seeking greatness. Art, on the other hand, reminds me of a night watchman at a museum. He's probably sleeps half the night, too, while he's on duty. But also, it's a great night at the museum when nothing terrible happens. Your shift manager comes in the morning to say hi to you, comes in and says, how'd the night go? And if you're the night watchman at the museum, you say, well, nobody broke into the place and nothing started on fire, so it was a pretty good night. That's Art to me right now. Asleep at the wheel, if you will, at the head of the Steelers franchise. But part of that, and a huge part of that, and to me, the other and closely related huge difference between the Steelers and the team across the state is that the Steelers are coach-centric. They made that decision a long time ago with Chuck Noll. You have the final say on draft. They made the decision with Bill Cowher when he got into dispute with Tom Donahoe. We're a coach-centric organization. Mike Tomlin may have more power than anybody in football at the moment. Last say on draft picks, de facto defensive coordinator, lead guy when they go and visit the senior, everything, the Senior Bowl. He's the co-CEO with Art. That's how I phrase it. They are a coach-centric organization. The Eagles are a personnel-centric organization. Howie Roseman runs it. The coaches for Philadelphia are employees who are told what to do for the most part and expected to win and win big and give them a chance to win Super Bowls. And when it becomes clear there's not a good chance of that, they get them out of there. The guy who won the first Super Bowl in Eagles history was Doug Peterson. He was fired 3 years later. Andy Reid was fired in Philadelphia. They are a personnel, GM-centric organization. When they didn't make they made the playoffs last year, but when they didn't win a game, they went 1-6 down the stretch last year, much like the Steelers this year. Very similar collapse. They got embarrassed in a playoff game. And within 1 week, both those coordinators were gone. You want to talk about changes, and depending on what you read and hear, Howie Roseman was the guy behind that, and certainly the guy behind who they hired, one of whom was Vic Fangio, who came in and made the 30th defense number 1 in the NFL. They are a GM-centric, personnel-centric organization. The Steelers are not, and that comes from the top with Jeffrey Lurie. Sirianni was even on the hot seat. My God, you win 11 games around here, and the night watchman at the museum is telling fans, reminding them, we've had a lot of success around here, you know. You win 11 for the Eagles and go to the playoffs, and you're on the chopping block if you don't win a playoff game immediately. To me, that's the difference, Bob.
It is a difference, but it's also, I think, the best move they made was not firing Sirianni. There was a lot of pressure, and what they did was instead change everything around him and say, we need this and this. You mentioned Fangio, but Kellen Moore was just as important to them on an offensive side of it.
Yeah.
And now he's going to get a head coaching job, it looks like, in New Orleans as a result. So he's there for 1 year, and now he's going to move on to that. But also, you know, Roseman he's aggressive when it comes to making signings, too. You know, we talked Barkley, but it was Zach Bond, who nobody really thought was going to be that big of a player, and he was. The 2 draft picks, all the things he did, he was aggressive in doing so.